It's good to see you. In today's study, we're going to be looking at when Moses dies. They're looking out into the promised land. Our hymn is called, Lord, 'Tis an Infinite Delight.
Lord, 'tis an infinite delight to see thy lovely face, to dwell with thee in thy sight and feel thy vital rays. This Gabriel knows and sings thy name with raptures on his tongue. Moses too enjoys the same and then repeats the song. Sweet was the journey to the sky, and prophet Moses tried. Climbed the mount as God and died. The prophet climbed and died. Softly his fainting head he lay upon his Maker's breast. The Lord kissed his soul away and laid his flesh to rest.
Okay. That last verse, show me thy face, and I'll away from all inferior things. Speak, Lord, here I quit my clay and stretch my airy wings. Deuteronomy 34 is where the account is found. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho, and the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, all Naphtali and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea, the south and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said to him, This is the land which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there. Remember why this is. It's because Moses was told to speak to the rock, and he struck it. He did not hallow God in the eyes of Israel, so the Lord told him, You're not crossing into the promised land. And so, from the account, one of the points we can make, and I think there's both a positive and a negative, if you would call it that, the Lord keeps his promises. And he says, I swore to give this to Abraham, Isaac's, and Jacob's descendants, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm keeping that promise. And the negative part is, I've caused you to see with your eyes, but you're not going over there. That's the Lord had told him that's what it was going to be, and that's what is. And so the Lord keeps his promises. I think about blessings and curses. I'm not saying Moses was cursed, but I'm saying the Lord keeps his promises. If you obey the Lord, promises are kept. If you disobey the Lord, those promises are kept too. The Beatitudes, blessings. The woes, curses. The Lord keeps his promises. Verse 5. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. I was thinking about that, and of course the Lord buries him there, in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor. But no one knows his grave to this day. And I was asking myself the question, why is that? Why did the Lord bury him there? Why did the Lord not allow Israel to bury him? And one reason, obviously, is he's not being led into the promised land. That's one reason. But I was thinking about something else. Moses was so prominent. He was so prominent. Let me put it this way. When we first meet Moses, where is he? He's in Egypt. Now, how did the Egyptians treat their dead? Well, they basically made shrines to them. the pyramids, tombs, and they would basically enshrine their dead. And of course, there's more to it than that. But I was thinking about this idea that Moses was so prominent. What would they have done? What would they have done with Moses as Moses dies? And there may be different elements to that. Like I said, Moses was so prominent. He's buried in Moab. He dies there in Moab, and he's buried in the valley in the land of Moab. The Moabites, that's where Moses is. He's not in Israel. Would Israel go on and cross the Jordan like God wants them to if they knew where Moses was? If they knew, it's like, oh, well, this is his tomb, this is his shrine, this is where, would they go on and cross the Jordan like the Lord wants them to? Just something to think about. I was really thinking why the Lord, not only he doesn't allow him to see, or he doesn't allow him to go into the promised land, he allows him to see it, but that he actually is buried in Moab. Anyway, you might consider it yourself and think about some of those ideas. Back in the account, so the Lord buries him. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. Doesn't mean that he didn't get weary from time to time. The children of Israel wept for Moses. So I would suggest what that means is the Lord somehow communicated to them that Moses was dead. The children find out about it somehow, and so the days of weeping and mourning for Moses ended after 30 days. Now Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands on him. So the children of Israel heeded him and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. Notice verse 10, but since then there has not arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, and all the signs and wonders, everything that he had done before Pharaoh and his servants, and all of those things. That language, but since then, this is being written after the fact, needless to say. You can think about the authorship if you want to. But obviously it's being written from the future's perspective. Let's look at it like that. And there had not arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. I wonder if that verse is not meant to point us to Jesus. Because do you remember what Moses himself said? He said, God will raise up a prophet like me, and him you shall hear. And that verse is quoted in the New Testament, and that's Jesus. God will raise up a prophet like me. Well, as this verse is being written from the future's perspective, Joshua, as good of a fellow as he was not like Moses. He was not like Moses. Samuel, as good of a fellow as he was not like Moses. Elijah, as good of a fellow as he was not like Moses. Elisha, as good as he was not like Moses. Since then there has not arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. It's speaking to that relationship. Now, who does have a relationship with the Father? Who was the prophet like Moses? And obviously it's Jesus. And even greater than Moses. And so I was thinking about that verse, and I wonder if the whole point of that language, just because it's so similar to what Moses had said, your God will raise up a prophet like me. And I wonder if that doesn't help with this verse, that's pointing to Jesus. Something to think about once again. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day today. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.